Hey, summer babies, welcome to July. Welcome to July. What follows is the July energy episode for the It's Giving Mystical podcast. It's me, Kirsten, and I'm so excited to share this episode with you. July is such an interesting month. It is a month of deep alchemy, and the challenge for us this month will be to allow the transformation, the recovery, the transfiguration, the integration that is happening to happen on a body level without trying to overthink it or make it therapeutic or make it narrative. There's something deep transforming and revealing itself to us about our power, about potential, about how we move. And we'll talk about guardian angels, we'll talk about art, we'll talk about nonlinear growth, nonlinear transformation, and what it means to sit in this place of deep power. How so often right action and balance means no action. So really taking stock of recovery this month, recovery and care and art and spaciousness, and let the process happen. Let the process happen. Let the transformation unfold. The Temperance card is the master of thresholds, and the Chariot card is the master traveler. These are the two energies working with us this month. Let yourself be informed by that. There is this gateway, this alchemical process, cellular regeneration happening. You know how to travel through it. Your mind might not say that. Your mind might get all tangled, but your body knows. That's going to be both our blessing and our challenge this month, letting it unfold without clamping down, without centering it in our mental space, which is a place that just can't understand alchemy. Alchemy doesn't work that way. It is a mysterious process. Welcome to the month of sacred mystery. Welcome to the month of alchemy. And may the force be with you. May you be with you. And may you grab this invitation with both hands and enjoy every second of pleasure and wandering that it offers you. May you take the long way home this month and be blessed by that journey. Enjoy. Okay, my favorite people, welcome to July. Here we are, the height of summer. July is a month of alchemy. It is always a month of alchemy, but particularly this month, we are deep in sacred mystery. I cannot wait to talk to you about it. I find all of this fascinating. I love the way these cards are coming out this month. I'm so curious about what it's going to look like in your life and in my life. And this is me, it's Kirsten. This is It's Giving Mystical, and thanks for being here with me. I'm so happy to track another month, another moment in this glorious life with you. Check in on June. So what do you think first and foremost about how the Lovers Month went? The invitation in June was to make choices aligned with the life you are dreaming of living. That is both a beautiful invitation, and I am sure that it was very confronting in certain respects. I'm sure that it was challenging. We don't shed parts of ourselves. We don't align with a more full, vibrant, present life without making some difficult choices, without having to confront some narrow, limiting beliefs that have lived as truth in our bodies and in our world. I wonder how June was for you. I'm curious about what that was like. So here together on the threshold of July, I offer you just this moment to maybe pause this or just sit for a minute and think about, what was the landscape that I traveled in June? How are things different? How do I feel more aligned, or how am I more aligned with the life that I'm dreaming of? When I was offered this choice to be all in, what did I do? And again, I'll say it for the 100th time. There are no good choices, there are no bad choices, there are no wrong choices. There's simply the choice that I was able to make in that moment. I was present enough to make in that moment. And I'm pretty sure if we track back over your month, you'll see the place where you were given this place to be all in and you pulled back. And maybe you chose differently. And that's okay. That's so much good information, right? Like, here's what I dream of and what I am sure I want and what my heart is driving me towards. Here's a moment where the universe said, okay, you're gonna have to make this maybe difficult choice. And there's part of you that maybe, I had this experience, was like, oh, well, I don't know if I wanna choose that for that. I don't know if I wanna trade that for that. And it's like, all right, baby, so sit with it until you know that you're ready to make the choice that will move you in the direction that you are dreaming of. And if you're not ready to make that choice, sit with that. That's a ton of good information. Wherever the June journey took you, I just hope that you have more clear vision around the choices you're making and around where they're taking you and around what needs to be done, what needs to find completion. We arrive here in July, and I will tell you that July is going to be a very sexy month of alchemy. Alchemy is sexy because it is mysterious. It is sexy because it is cellular transformation. The mythology of alchemy talks about physical changes in the world. The true alchemy is a recentering of your knowing, a recentering of your sight from your headspace into your heart space. That sounds so cool on paper, but that's not maybe as easy as it sounds. There's a reason that the alchemy is a hero's journey in very foggy territory. There is a sacred mystery to the energy that we're entering this month, and there is a sacred mystery to alchemy, and that is something to be held with reverence, not something to be taken lightly. And I don't say that to intimidate you. I say that to bring awareness to the fact that the threshold we are crossing into July is going to be a heart-based, knowing-based experience. It is not going to be an experience that our mind can easily grapple with, that our mind can easily translate for us. So that is going to be both the blessing of July and the challenge of July. The blessing is I am crossing this threshold, this beautiful, alchemical, mysterious, transformative place. My mind might be confused about what is actually happening. And my mind might want to create stories or anxiety, to be honest, about what's happening in a way that's not necessary. So that's your challenge. Keep that in mind this month. Keep your mind in check this month. Have an awareness that what is happening in your body, the alchemical shifts that are happening in your body, are good and right and not conscious, and that's okay. If we start at the very beginning, July is the 7th month of the year. The Chariot card always rules the energy of July. The Chariot card is a beautiful, I love it. It's fascinating energy. I mean, all the cards are fascinating, but Chariot's very interesting. If you've heard me speak at all in the world or on this podcast, you know that 7 is the number of mystery. You know that one of the things I teach about tarot is that when you have 7, you are never going to be really able to grasp it in your hand. It's always going to feel like it's flying away. It's always going to feel like there's some part you're not seeing. It's always going to be a little bit, there's going to be a little bit of like smoke and mirrors in a 7 energy. And that's rightly so. Pythagoras writes about the number 7 as the number of feminine enchantment, the letter of feminine enchantment. There is this kind of sacred, sexy mystery to the number 7. Just to nerd out for a second, one of the ways you can study tarot, the major arcana in particular, is that the Fool is the alpha and the omega. It is the beginning and the end of the major arcana, 0 and 22. The other 21 cards are meant to be laid out in a grids of 7, so 1 to 7, 8 to 14, 15 to 21. The 7, the Chariot, is the end of that first cycle. And when you study the major arcana, that first cycle has its own journey, its own story. The 7 is the completion of that. The 7 is this drawing in of your power. It is a centering of your energy in your solar plexus. The 7, obviously, there's a reference always to the 7 chakras, the 7 energy centers. The Chariot is this place of true balance. Really relaxed, centered, but also charged balance. There's this potential energy, and I mean that in like the physics way of like potential versus kinetic. There's this potential energy that lives in the 7, that lives in our center when we are fully present and fully aware of just how powerful we are. We are in a Chariot year. So 2023 is a Chariot year. July is the Chariot month, which means that the movements of July, the way that July shows up for you, the journey that you take in July is kind of this microcosm, this mirror, this reflective point, this focal point, this focus point for the journey that you are on in the larger year of 2023. Chariot energy is so interesting, and we've talked about, what we've discussed in Circle and in other places, is for this 7 year, you are being asked to really trust the unfolding and your ability to stay present in the unfolding. In like fun interpretations of tarot, you would say, when the chariot shows up, you're going to get a new car. You're going to go on a journey. There's going to be some movement. But it's important to note that like you're not doing the walking, that there's a car, that there's a chariot, that there's something propelling you, there's something moving you, and your job is to be present in it. Your job is to not even steer. In a chariot, I often say, like, take your hands off the wheel and put your energy, instead of putting your energy into turning the wheel and directing the chariot, put your energy into being present, put your energy into pulling your energy back towards you. There's this idea in a chariot year that the force of your will is enough. The force of your will is enough. That is challenging, right? Balanced, patient, centered presence is a place where right action often means doing nothing. Right action, balanced action, often means doing nothing. That's the lesson of the chariot. Not that nothing will happen, but that I don't need to be involved in everything. My energy doesn't need to have its fingers in everything. My energy is here for it. I guess what I feel into the chariot is that there is a profound sense of reverence for the order of things, and a profound sense of reverence for your role in that, and a profound sense of reverence for the unfolding and the way that you are both part of that and also the mover of that and also the creator and artist of that, and at the same time just a very small part of it. A critical, important part, but just a small part of this kind of larger unfolding. And what that means, like any good story, like any good mythology, like any good narrative, is that we don't need to play all the parts. We need to play our part well. And that's the energy of the chariot. Is it has this really strong, it has like kind of this James Bond, this like ninja, this like loaded bow and arrow. Not that there's anything weak or soft or loose about the chariot energy, but it also has a profound sense of, I move when it's time to move, and otherwise I stay here and I stay here and I stay here, and I kind of consolidate my energy, so when it is time to move, I move with such precision and focus and impact. That's the energy of the chariot. I want to then layer on the energy of temperance, which is also with us. Temperance is number 14. So if we go back to my nerdy tarot grid, it's the end of the second cycle. So the chariot and the temperance are these places of pause, these places of integration, these places of transformation. What's happening in both the chariot and the temperance is there's a pause and a like pulling in of energy. Like it's this really, I hope you can feel it. It's this really beautiful moment of like, I've learned and worked and created and chosen and gone through the darkness and learned my lessons and pulled myself back together, and now here I am. And there's this moment where you just rest in it. Temperance is the card of patience. It is also it's the card of alchemy, but it's really about balance. Alchemy as a pulling together of the poles, right? So light and dark, night and day, good and bad, black and white. And I don't need either of those poles to be true. I am the integration of all of those things. I pull in from both sides to this middle way, and that is the magic of alchemy, right? I can weave together this kind of tantric fusion of the poles into this place of centered middleness. Both of these cards are giving us that energy. Both of these cards are saying, be still in your power. And when you're still in your power, there's nothing weak about that. And there's something actually deeply magnetic and sexy. I mean, it really does have this pull, this like attractive quality of, what is that? Why are they so assured? Why are they so still? Why is there so much power rippling around them, even though they seem to be so grounded and still? That's the energy of both the Chariot and the Temperance. When I started feeling into the July energy, it felt like this intermission. Like I could feel like this pullback of like, there's not going to be anything to do in July. And that was just like my first instinct around the energy when I was feeling into the fact that it was the Chariot and the Temperance. And then when I laid them down on the table and I looked at them, I was like, wow. Like I was really struck by the integrative quality of what's happening this month. I am so curious as to what changes this month, and I'm always curious, so like take it with a grain of salt. I would love you to keep track this month of what is integrating, what is transmuting, what is consolidating this month. That's going to be a really interesting and I think profound transformation. I'll say that the challenge this month is the things that we're talking about. We're talking about integration, consolidation, energy, your solar plexus, your willpower, your balancing, your grounding, your alchemization of opposites into this new way, into this middle way. These are not things that happen in the mind. If you've ever read any work on alchemy, it's like a riddle. I mean, you can just, your brain is like, what are you talking about? No matter how much you read, no matter how hard you think on it, it's actually a great metaphor for this. No matter how hard you think on it, you can't grasp it. It's not something that can be put into language and have it be known. It needs to be known in a deeper way. It needs to be known in a kind of a belly way, in a body way, it's a cellular understanding and a cellular witnessing. In this month of July, your brain might like really struggle with how to make sense. There might be energy generating a narrative or energy generating a story around what's happening. It can be physically uncomfortable. I really do think that this month is offering us this kind of cellular regeneration. Sometimes I say these things and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like my brain struggles with that. What is, like, I hear myself saying this. I know fully that it is true. And my brain is like, what are you promising? What are you saying to people? And I'm not promising anything and I'm not prophetizing anything. I'm telling you that if I feel into these energies, there is this very powerful integration happening, consolidation happening, settling happening. And it's not settling like a snow globe, it's settling like drawing in this atomic pulling in, nuclear pulling in of the energy into something very tight but very profound. So that's what we're working with in July. Okay, what do we do with all that? In July, your energy should be put on July things. Like the energy is asking you to stay with your body, to offer yourself grace and space and patience with your process this month. I go back to what I said, this is an intermission. So in any way, shape, or form that you can be very July about this, like if you are lucky enough to be at the beach for the month of July, amen. But don't just be at the beach and like go about your regular schedule. Like really be at the beach. Like really pull, like go to the mountains, go to the beach, go to your room, go to your backyard, go for a hike. Like there's something about giving your body space to consolidate and work itself. There will be so much happening in July, but it won't be happening in a way that your brain can grasp. And that is going to be the challenge. When I pulled all the cards that surround it, there is something very precious happening in July. And it's happening again, like on an alchemical level. And I guess the way to think about it is in self-development work, in any kind of spiritual journeying, there is this pressure, this push to heal, this pressure to arrive, this pressure to get clarity, this pressure to, change your language, be more intentional, be more purposeful, and all of that's beautiful. But there is a way in which that can become its own binding. It can become another way for the ego to run the show. It's just cloaking it in spiritual language. The energy of July is, can you trust your stillness? Like, can you trust the transformations that are happening? Can you trust the work you've done to be enough? Can you trust who you are to be enough? The Chariot card is about consolidating our power, taking the hands off the wheel, and knowing that the clarity of our will, the clarity of our desire is enough. That we are always moving towards. The Temperance card is Sagittarian energy. It is the card of patience and balance and alchemy, like I said. It is also the card of deep protection. The angel in the Temperance card is our guardian angel. Has their wings around us, is what I've said about this card before, is placing every stone in the path on purpose, has orchestrated the best possible journey for you, and knows exactly what you're here to learn and understand and integrate, and they are with you 100% of the time, more so. And I was reading something recently about this card, and it's a book called The Way of the Tarot, and he does this thing where he like speaks for the card. So he'll like say, if Temperance could speak, it would say. And one of the things that he had the Temperance card say was that the guardian angel is something that from childhood we can feel like, oh, that's so cute and sweet. And as adults, we can feel it's harder to grasp. How do I call in my guardian angel? How do I even speak to them? And he's like, you just do. Like, you just start speaking to me. I'm right here. And if you've ever read anything about free will in terms of spiritual support, you know that the angels are right here. Like, they're just waiting. But you have to call for them. You have to ask for them to step in, for them to assist you. So in this month, like, play with that, your guardian angel. I hope that when I say that, you have an immediate idea, like, oh, I know exactly who's protecting me. But if you don't, ask and imagine something playful and silly, and then just begin to interact with it. And what you'll notice is that it will transform into something that's not silly at all. That's actually quite powerful and quite profound and quite real in your life. The Temperance card represents that. The Temperance card represents that you don't walk alone. You just don't. You are protected and loved and beloved. The Temperance card is the card of patience. So both of these cards are saying oftentimes right action means no action. Neither of these cards are moving without a very precise, clear, full-bodied directive to move. So I just offer that to you as well. This month, pay attention to your movements. How often are you moving because you think you're supposed to, versus moving because you are truly called from your center to engage? Really call in that James Bond energy, call in that ninja energy, call in that, I don't know, like that kind of James Dean, like cool guy leaning on the bar or the jukebox. Like, I got nowhere to go, man. I got nowhere to be. That's the energy of the Chariot and the Temperance card together. When I put them down on the table, I was really struck. I was like, it's fucking sexy. Sexy energy. To know your power, to have faith in your journey, and to rest in that. Like, nowhere to go, nowhere to go. That's really beautiful. We're just driving back from New England. I did the ditziest thing. I'm going to own it. I got on the wrong ferry from Connecticut back to Long Island, and I got on the ferry to Fisher's Island, which, if you don't know, is a very small island on the Long Island Sound, very like remote and very just private, very private place. You really wouldn't go there unless you were on the Coast Guard or you had a house there. And I took the wrong ferry at night and ended up on this island. But what I'll tell you is that it made no sense. It made no sense for me to do this. And I was so happy I did. Like, it was just this detour that really, even the dreamy myth-making part of me has no reason why that happened. There's no reason that I can discern that made sense for me to do. I've taken the other ferry 1,000 times. Like, there's no reason why I got on this wrong ferry. My daughter and I were laughing so hard. If we were in a movie or a sitcom, the audience would have been screaming, "You're on the wrong ferry." Like, we had so many signs we were on the wrong ferry, and we just kept hanging out. But my point is that I found it really nourishing. I love the Long Island Sound. That part of the world is like, it has a deep sense of home to me. I love that ride. Added 2 hours to our trip, made no sense. Like, nothing interesting happened. But I felt completely nourished by it. Like, I was so happy to be on the water and on the Sound on that foggy night. Like, it just fed me in this way that I didn't even realize I needed to be fed. Like, let that happen to you in July. Like, take the long way home. Sit for an extra 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half hour at lunch. Like, linger over your food. Linger over the sunset. Whatever your experience of the world is, extend it and expand it and linger in it. Know that even if you're not actively doing anything in July, there is this consolidation, this transformation, this rebuilding happening. That's enough. Like truly that's enough in July. I know this message is going to be challenging. It's challenging for me. On one hand, I find it like deeply relieving. Like, okay, great. Please give me the month off and I can really settle into it. And it's also difficult, right? I can't settle. I have too much to do. I challenge that for me and I challenge that for you this month. What if your only job was to really take care of yourself? Imagine that you were in charge of someone you love shows up on your doorstep, and it turns out they've been wandering in the woods, in the mountains for months, and they made it and they survived it, but they are skinny and exhausted and they need a good bath and they need a good meal and they need a hug and they need a nice soft bed. Imagine how you would care for them. Imagine the time and the energy you would say, like, just rest here, just take it easy here. Do that for yourself in July. Give yourself a soft bed, give yourself extra space, extra time to recover. And I don't even really know what that means. I don't know what that means, to be honest, but I trust that it's true because it's coming through so clearly. Like, just give yourself time to recover in July. That feels really right. What I'll say is that instead of feeling like that's wasted time or that you are not accomplishing what you need to accomplish, realize you're actually doing something much more profound. Chariot and the Temperance card are about power and purpose. They are about patience and restraint. They're about alchemy. They are about grounding cosmic energy. They say of the Temperance card that it is the master of thresholds. I would argue that the Chariot card is the master traveler. So just recognize that you are being asked to cross this threshold and do it from a place of deep wisdom and experience. The last thing I'll say to you about this energy, about this month, is there is a deep connection between art and healing. Going back to what I just said about the ways we mentally work our process. Even me with narrative work, narrative therapies, narrative healing, I really believe in the power of our language. And yet, that's only one part of the process. It does come to its limits. It has its place. July is not going to be a place for narrative healing. July is not going to be a place for therapeutic healing. We're going to have to move beyond that. We are going to be limited if we stay in this thing of mental processing. Even as I'm saying that, my brain is like, oh, it like hurts. Like I'm tired of that. And I'm not really tired of that in my life. So it's just this channeling of like, I bet you're tired. I bet there's a way that like you're tired of thinking about it and trying to solve it and trying to fix it and trying to rework it and trying to rewrite it. And July's like, yeah, that's right. I want you to remember that healing is an art. It is not a science. It is not a literature. It is an art. And I want to invite you in July to bring healing and art together in your lives. This is the integration that we're talking about. We're talking about this idea of making art. We're talking about this idea of dancing, of movement. If you read about the Temperance card, if you kind of go down a rabbit hole of like, where does that come from? A lot of the connections in the Temperance card are about ecstatic movement, the Kundalini rising, this idea of moving the energy from the material up to the spiritual, and those two things weaving together, fusing together in the human body. Ecstatic dance is ecstatic dance for a reason. It is throughout all mythologies and cultures for a reason, especially as a feminine practice. There's something about allowing our bodies to speak in a way that our minds are not capable, allowing our hands to create in a way that is beyond our understanding. Art speaks to your heart. Dance speaks to something much more primal than language. I would say to you that in this month ahead, those things are going to benefit you greatly. The challenge of this month is trying to make mental a process that is not mental. What are you going to set up in your life to prepare that space for yourself? How are you going to allow more care, more tending to yourself after this metaphorical long journey you've been on? And how are you going to create space for art in your life? Don't let that overwhelm you, and don't let that be stuck in a box of what art is. Art is your life. You can make art by gardening. You can make art by the way you move through space. You can make art through how you decorate space. You can make art in drawing or coloring or collage. You can make art through dance and song and music. I mean, there's like, it's endless. It's endless. You can make art through creating mandalas outside, right? Creating altars in your space and in your life. That might be a brilliant practice for you, to create art for the sake of creating art. The idea of a sand painting is something in shamanism, but it's something, way broader than that. And the idea is that I create something of beauty just to create something of beauty. And that's enough. I tell you that in July, that is more than enough. And that is transforming, speaking, activating, settling, soothing, healing something in you that you might be surprised. You just might be surprised. Oh, it's such a beautiful invitation. And so my prayer for you and for me is that we grab it with both hands, and that we honor the sacred mystery of the 7-month. We honor the sacred mystery of our own journey, our own transfiguration, our own integration. And that we recognize the truth of that is a consolidation and a drawing in and a activating of potential energy in a way that is profoundly powerful and profoundly impactful. In July, we're going to learn a lot about the nonlinear forms of gaining power and the nonlinear forms of healing. And we're going to end this month, I don't know, profound. If you follow this, if you track this, and we'll track it again at the end of the month, but if you track this, I think you're going to be surprised. I think you'll be surprised at who emerges, who crosses the threshold, who shows up on the other side of the doorway. Dancing, art, music, and care. That is the invitation for you this month. Will you take it? Will you value that? Is that enough for you? Is it enough for you to be with yourself with care and art and dance and music and spaciousness? I hope so. I could say that the part of our world that is broken is the part of us that is not comfortable doing this. The part of us that has lost art and lost ritual and lost music and lost spaciousness and lost community and lost a sense of pacing that exists around us but not generated by us. That we're allowed to move more slowly and we're allowed to make art of our lives. I think that if everyone had the capacity and the ability and the spaciousness and the safety to do that, I just think we wouldn't be in some of the pickles that we're in right now. Reclaim that, take that for yourself, recognize the power that exists in that this is not something to be taken lightly, and it is not something to necessarily comprehend. It is a place of trust and faith and experimentation. And I am sure that on the other side of it, you will be glad you took this moment. You will be glad you entertained this invitation. July is going to change you from the inside out. I said it. It's a strong claim, but I believe it. July is going to change you from the inside out. And the reason that July is offering you this transfiguration is because it wants you to find yourself in a place of I am unshakable. I am unshakable. You can reach a place where no mirror scares you. To be so clear and held and in integrity in your own space that you just know who you are. And there's no mirror that can scare you because there's nothing to hide. And that's the feeling of being unshakable. I'm unshakable because no matter what comes, I am here. I am the one who will face it. And I am supremely trustable. That's an amazing place to live. And that is what July is offering us. So holding that possibility for all of us, blessing your journey into recovery and patience and stillness and art and healing this month. And I'm excited to see where it takes us. I am going to save the individual card pulls for a small mini episode later this week when I return from my next adventure with my children. I leave you here with this, and I also invite you to listen to this episode if it appeals to you more than once this month. Like maybe listen to it mid-month and listen to it at the end of the month and just have a sense of like what you're tracking. Don't listen to this, put it to the side and forget it. Really, truly. Even if you just bookmark a small part of it that speaks to you. Remember the opportunity, the invitation, the reality of the transformation happening this month. Stay with yourself. Stay with yourself. I send you so much love. I am excited about this. I think there's something very precious to be found within you and around you this month. And that's it. I just pray that for you. I pray that you can really hold that gem, that miracle in your hands because you gave yourself space to see it. You gave yourself room to see it. So wishing you so much spaciousness and love and dance and the long way home this month. I hope you take the long way home. I really do. I think you'll be surprised at how that feeds something deep, deep, deep within you. All right, my babies, I will talk to you soon and reach out if you want to chat about this. I will talk about it all day long. Love you. Bye. It's giving everything is sacred. It's giving art. It's giving light you up and turn you on and set you free. It's giving curiosity. It's giving freedom. It's giving love. It's giving you are more magical and powerful than you can comprehend. It's giving, I don't know what's happening, but I am so here for it. It's giving you are pure potential. It's giving mystical.